time for Dodger baseball. Live from Dodger Stadium, Sportsnet LA presents the Dodgers as they take on the Angels. Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant Saturday to you, wherever you may be. We're at Dodger Stadium, Game 2 of the series with the Angels. Difference between the two teams, the Dodgers are not very streaky. In fact, they're the only team in the major leagues without a 4-game losing streak. The Angels, however, have lost 4 straight and 7 of the last 8. Big moment today. First time in Major League history, 2 reigning MVPs will go head-to-head. That's when Clayton Kershaw is on the mound, and he'll be pitching to Mike Trout. For the Dodgers, they're a game and a half in front of the Giants, and for the Angels, they are 2 games behind Houston. The pitching matchups, Clayton Kershaw, 8 and 6, but he's been brilliant the last 3 games, 38 strikeouts and no walks, and he has a string of 29 consecutive scoreless innings. Andrew Heaney, the left-hander who was a Dodger for about an hour and a half, went to the Angels in the deal that sent Howie Kendrick to the Dodgers. So the stage is set. Pull up a chair. We got a good ball game coming up right after this. Disneyland. Get ready to be dazzled during the Disneyland Resort Diamond Celebration, happening now with spectacular new entertainment and more. And by the Acura It's That Kind of Summer event. Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant Saturday afternoon to you. Welcome to Dodger Stadium, Game 2 of a most interesting season and series between the Dodgers and the Angels. You can just look at Mike Scioscia's ball club, and we'll give you his lineup right now. And they'll be challenging Clayton Kershaw. Shane Victorino's already in the batter's box, so we'll give you the rest of the lineup in a moment, but we don't want to miss a pitch. So Victorino, Formerly with the Dodgers back in 2012. Right-hand batter, used to be a switch hitter, but he stays right-handed. And Kershaw's first pitch, fastball low, ball one, 1-0. Victorino was with 3 different teams last year as he checks in the uniform of the Angels. Clayton comes back to him, and it's swung on and missed, and they count 1-1 This year, he started with the Red Sox. Then Shane went to Pawtucket. Then he went to Portland. And now here he is with the Angels. Batting .239. Right-hand hitter swings, nubs one half one to the box. Picked up by Kershaw to throw him out. So 1 away. And the batter will be Johnny Giovitello. Some notes about Clayton Kershaw on this warm afternoon. 83 degrees here in downtown Los Angeles. A little bit hotter other places. So this is pretty nice for a summer afternoon. Giovitello, the second baseman, checks in. Clayton in July really found himself going 3 straight, 38 strikeouts, no walks. The pitch to Giovitello fouled away in the count 0-1. Clayton with a record of 8-6, 29 scoreless innings. His record at home 5-2. On the road 3-4, and in his career against the Angels 2 wins and 2 losses. So Clayton ready on a no-ball 1-strike count to Giovitello, and on deck Mike Trout. Strike 1 pitch is a big off speed, but it stayed up, no bend to it at all. It was 72 miles an hour. So they count 1-1 as Trout waits. Giovitello last night 0 for 4 with a couple of fly balls. Greinke, another magnificent performance. Here's the 1-1 pitch on the way, and it's low. What makes these games so extra interesting? You have Clayton Kershaw and Zach Greinke against Trout and Pujols. I mean, that's quite a battle. Wish they were playing each other 22 times a year like we used to in the old days. 2-1 pitch on the way is a chopper foul outside of third. And the count 2 balls and 2 strikes. The Angels as a club 3 games under 500 on the road. The Dodgers are 4 games under 500 on the road. The Angels are 1 game under 500 against the National League. The Dodgers are 2 games above 500 against the American League. Kershaw looks and turns on the rubber, and the 2-2 pitch on the way is swung on and fouled off. For Clayton, he missed his start. He was going to pitch Wednesday, then they said maybe Friday, and now here he is on Saturday. In July, Kershaw's 4 starts, he was 3-0, and his earned run average 0.27, and he just can't get any lower. 2-2 pitch on the way, and it's swung on, ground ball to short. Up with it is Rollins, meets the pole. And we have 2 down, and now the first of the 2 confrontations as Mike Trout comes up. Trout last night put on quite a show. He had a triple, a single, and a home run. A tongue-in-cheek cycle because he had a double, but it turned out to be a double play. He's still the youngest American leaguer to ever hit for the cycle. Mike did that in 2013. He was all of 21 years old. So Trout checking in, hitting .317, 32 home runs, and first pitch in for a strike, and the count 0-1. Mike Trout hit 12 home runs in July, despite playing in only 21 games. So that tied a record. The next one off speed and low, 1-1. The record, the fewest games played in a month while producing at least a dozen home runs. Boog Powell did it in 1964. Barry Bonds did it in 2001. The 1-1 pitch to Mike swung on and missed. 1-2 the count. One other note, when Powell and Bonds did it, they each had 20 RBIs. Trout had 24. The Kershaw and the other MVP, Mike Trout. Clayton delivers, drops the slow curveball in there for strike 3 call. Trout doesn't say much, kind of looks with a slight grin on his face as Kershaw throws that big high bender in, and down go the Angels. And at the end of half an inning, Angels nothing. Here come the Dodgers. And it'll start off with Jimmy Rollins at shortstop, Howie Kendrick at second base, and Adrian Gonzalez at first. Scott Van Slyke hits cleanup in left field, Yasiel Puig in right. Then you have Yasmani Grandal behind the plate, Alex Guerrero at third, Kike Hernandez in center, and Clayton Kershaw the pitcher. On the mound, Andrew Heaney. Heaney, 6'2", 190 out of Oklahoma City, went to Oklahoma State and was a first-round pick by the Marlins. The Rays chose him in the 24th round, but he opted to go to Oklahoma State, and the left-hander ready and delivers, flips a strike in there to Rollins, and the count 0-1. Jimmy hitting .213, but as a switch hitter, it's better to know what he's doing hitting right-handed. And he promptly lifts one into shallow right field, moving over to his right, waiting at Victorino, and puts it away. So Rollins a fly ball to right, one down, and the batter Howie Kendrick.
Second baseman number 47.
Andrew Heaney,
Howie
among other
Kendrick.
things, and it's interesting, he has Carlos Perez catching him. When Iannetta is catching him, his earned run average has been 1.3. With Perez catching him, his earned run average is 2.7. That's a big difference, double almost. The first pitch swung on and missed by Kendrick, and the count 0-1. Howie, who led off last night, his first appearance against his old club, 9 years, an Angel, and hit a home run in the first inning. Batting .287, swings, doesn't get the next one, and the count 0-2. For Andrew Heaney, another good note about him, he has pitched well during the daytime. Here's the strike two pitch on the way, flipped just inside, ball one. His earned run average during the day is 1.4. So he is dazzling. His record 5 wins, no losses. Angels have won all 6 of his starts. The 1-2 pitch, an easy flipped in fastball that misses. 2-2. Boy, what a nice delivery. Andrew Heaney, we've never seen him before. He just buzzed that fastball inside, and nice and easy. He's 6'2", but he pitches even taller than that. Flips a slider, and that's fouled away. We say that in the way he fully extends the arm. He takes a nice full stride to the plate. So he really looks like he's bigger than 6'2". He's been fortunate. Good defense behind him as Kendrick fouls another pitch away. Heaney also has pitched well against good ball clubs. Against teams 500 and above, his earned run average is 1.3. So the 2-2 pitch flipped and fouled, and it's still 2-2. The first 75 pitches of an Andrew Heaney game, the batting average is only 156. So we'll see if that holds up. 2-2 pitch on the way is reached for, hit in the air to right field, right into the glove of Shane Victorino. So 2 out in the first inning. Adrian Gonzalez coming up. A couple of the notes once we check in with Gonzalez. Adrian hitting .295, 21 home runs, 61 RBIs, and since the day he joined the Dodgers and hit a home run just inside the right field foul pole, he has hit .299. So Heaney holds the ball at the belt, brings it up to the chin, then goes into his windup, and the first pitch way off the plate, ball 1. Light breeze blowing from left to right. 1 ball and no strikes. Heaney comes back, and there's a high fly ball into deep left center field. The outfield is converging. A sliding, stumbling catch by David DeJesus. So David's not going to get any points on form, but nevertheless he caught the ball. Might have lost his footing. So down go the Dodgers on 3 fly balls. Take another look as DeJesus makes the catch, and at the end of an inning, no score. Albert Pujols, Eric Ibar, and Carlos Perez, the catcher, coming up. Long night for Albert Pujols last night. I don't know if he was really human and was pressing after Trout hitting ahead of him put on such a great show, but it should be duly noted, last night he struck out 3 times and popped up, though unable to hit the ball out of the infield, and that is certainly not Albert Pujols. 30 home runs, 64 runs batted in. Kershaw ready in the first pitch. Albert takes high and away. Ball 1, 1-0. The Giants are playing in Texas against the Rangers. 2 no-hit pitchers, Chris Heston and Cole Hamels, going after each other in that one. The 1-0 pitch on the way, swung on and fouled back, and the count 1-1. The Giants earlier this year scored 9 runs against Hamels before he pitched his no-hitter. So it'll be interesting, but that's going to be not until 5 o'clock our time. 1 ball and 1 strike. Pujols waiting. Kershaw delivers, drops that big slow curveball in there, and the count 1-2. That was the pitch that dispatched Mike Trout. However, Pujols has hit Kershaw hard. Pujols 10 for 22 against Clayton. Looks at a pitch off the plate. He has 4 doubles. The home runs against Kershaw by the Angels Chris Iannetta, the catcher, who's not playing, and Shane Victorino, who just came to the Angels. Pujols waiting. He has 4 doubles against Kershaw. Swings and pulls one foul way down the left field line, deep in the lower deck, and the count remains 2 balls and 2 strikes. You know, in the modern era, there's been one pitcher ever to have 3 consecutive scoreless starts with 10 strikeouts and no walks, and that would be Clayton Kershaw against Philadelphia, Washington, and the Mets, and now it's on the line against the Angels. 2-2 pitch on the way. Fastball fouled away. So Pujols went down to get it and pulled it off to the left. For Kershaw, in his last 3 starts, remarkable 13 strikeouts against the Phillies, 14 against the Nationals, 11 against the Mets, and no walks. Here's the 2-2 pitch again to Albert Pujols. Clayton's fastball is hit up the middle for a base hit. So Pujols, who had such a long, quiet night last night, a line drive, hard ground ball single to center, and the batter now will be Eric Aybar. So if he was looking for the fastball, he was certainly ready for it, and that's hit number 1. So with a runner at first, nobody out, Eric Aybar, who has 21 infield hits and 5 bunt singles. Last night, he was 0 for 3, hit by a pitch. Jimmy Rollins leaped high in the air to take a base hit away from him in the 4th inning, and he lost an RBI because Trout was at third last night. He hits a chopper foul outside of third. Alex Guerrero, who homered last night, playing third base. Both clubs without their first string third baseman, David Freese, out with a fractured finger, hit by a pitch. Justin Turner out with the leg infection. So Featherston is playing for the Angels and Guerrero for the Dodgers. 0-1 the count to Eric Aybar. Aybar, switch hitter, batting right-handed, and a 300 hitter from this side of the plate. Strike 1 pitch on the way. Aybar looks at a slow breaking ball for a strike. Albert Pujols, standing over there at first base, has stolen 2 bases, and he has also been caught twice. Pujols cautious lead. Kershaw usually controls the running game anyway. Staring at Pujols and decides to pay him a visit, and Albert back on the bag. So Pujols gets the base hit. We're in the 2nd inning, no score. Albert again inching away on an 0-2 count. Aybar and a crouch at the plate. Kershaw set, comes to his hitter, and it's a fastball popped down the right field line, starting to slice foul and drops untouched. In pursuit, Kendrick and Gonzalez, neither man came close. So Pujols back to the bag at first. Dodgers go back to their positions, and Aybar waits at the plate. Aybar has had over 400 plate appearances, and he's only struck out 49 times. So he's an ideal leadoff man, and especially hitting 300 right-handed. Swings and pops another one foul. Gonzalez coming over to the Angel dugout, but it's on the roof, and Kangaroos way back up into the stands. So Albert Pujols had 5 stolen bases last year. You may not believe that, but he did. In fact, when Pujols played with the Cardinals, a little bit younger days, he had as many as 16 stolen bases. He'd steal 16 out of 20. I mean, he is not just some big lumbering home run hitter. He's a terrific and always has been a great player. 0-2 the count as Pujols takes his lead. And the strike 2 pitch, Aybar has a look. It's in the dirt, and the count 1 ball and 2 strikes. The Dodgers and the Angels one more time tomorrow afternoon as Carlos Perez, the catcher, waits on deck. After tomorrow, the Angels will play Cleveland and Baltimore, and the Dodgers will be on the road playing Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. Kershaw set. Looks again over at Pujols. And the 1-2 pitch to Ibar, swung on, ground ball up the middle, smothered by Kendrick. They get one and they not get the other at first. A wonderful play by Howie Kendrick, smothering what was a sure base hit and turning it into a force play. And it was surprising how well he did it, because Rollins came awfully close to doubling up Ibar. Not quite, but that was a dandy of a play by Kendrick. Otherwise, it's first and second and nobody out. So Howie Kendrick helped to beat the Angels with his bat last night. Now trying to beat them with his glove today. So Ibar just does beat the throw. And the catcher, Carlos Perez, coming up. Big play by Howie. Carlos Perez will be checking in. He's from Valencia in Venezuela. He has a great arm. Threw out a lot of people in the minor leagues. Right-hand batter. Hitting .227. Kershaw delivers and buzzes him a little low. Ball one. Perez has 2 home runs, 13 runs batted in. He has never hit more than 6 home runs in the minor leagues. But he's had a solid 35% throwing runners out. 1 ball and no strikes. Kershaw decides to go to first. Ibar back. Ibar has stolen 7 bases, but he's been caught 4 times. Perez checking with third base coach Gary DiSarcino. Former Dodger Alfred Griffin over at first base. Here's the 1-0 pitch on the way, and that's inside. Ball 2, 2-0. Perez was signed out of Venezuela by the Blue Jays. He was just 17 years old. He'll be 25 in October. He's a contact hitter. Right-hand batter waiting. And the 2-0 pitch on the way. And that's a little low. Ball 3, 3-0. So Perez, who doesn't frighten anybody as far as the long ball is concerned, has a good 3-0 count. And hitting back of him, David DeJesus. 1 out. Ibar at first. 3-0 the count to Perez. Kershaw ready. Comes to the plate. And the fastball a strike. 3-1. Well, there are 2 so-called managers counts. The hit and run when the count is 2-1. And the 3-1 when the count is like it is right now. So we'll see about Perez, who should be a contact hitter. He's grounded into 4 double plays. So the first thought is, well, will Ibar be going against a pitcher with a very good move to first base? So we'll see what Mike decides. Kershaw out of the stretch, looks at Ibar, stares at him, works the plate. Ibar's not going. Ground ball backhanded by Rollins, and they get an out at second base. I remember years ago I was talking about a Dodger double play combination, and I talked about they look like 2 kittens with a ball of wool. Well, today we have 2 kittens around that bag, even though they're seasoned veterans. Howie Kendrick makes a fine play on Ibar, and now Rollins makes a big play on Perez. So Kershaw with 2 down thanks to his infield. Either one of those could have gone through for sure. And here is DeJesus. DeJesus appeared as a pinch hitter last night. Hit back to the box in the 8th inning. Left-hand batter. And Kershaw's first pitch in for a strike. And the count 0-1. Kershaw this year very tough on everybody. Clayton hands it aside, looks in to get a sign. Remember, his earned run average last 10 starts 1.3. He's low and away, and 1-1 the count. One thing that might be bothering Kershaw a little bit, the fact that he's out of sync. Normally they go every 5th day. His start was supposed to be Wednesday, then it was supposed to be last night, and now here he is. Clayton with a runner at first, 2 down, no score, 2nd inning. DeJesus is the fella who has 4 career inside the park home runs. That's really an oddity. We were mentioning last night about Dick Allen, at one time played for the Dodgers. Dick Allen had 2 home runs in a game against Bert Blyleven, and they were both inside the park. 2 at-bats, same game. Here's the 1-1 pitch to DeJesus, swung on high, big league pop fly on the infield. Fighting the glare is Alex Guerrero to make the catch for the out. Boy, that thing was straight up the chute. No runs, 1 hit, but Kershaw bailed out by the 2 kids around second base, Rollins and Kendrick. No score. Degrees. Nice crowd on hand. We had a sellout crowd last night, the 9th of the year, 53,380. We don't have quite that crowd today, but it is still a sizable collection to watch Clayton Kershaw. Struggled a bit in the second inning, made 21 pitches and got 2 wonderful plays around the bag at second. So now Andrew Heaney ready to go to work to Scott Van Slyke, Yasiel Puig, and Yasmani Grandal. Scott Van Slyke was very fortunate last night, and so were the Dodgers. At the time, it didn't make that much of an imprint. He takes a pitch off the plate, ball 1. Van Slyke came up in the 5th inning last night. He was 0 for 2. He had a pop fly down the right field line. The 1-0 pitch is taken for a strike. Gio Vitella, Albert Pujols, and the right fielder Calhoun all converged on it, but the ball dropped inside. Unlucky break for Santiago. Van Slyke hits one into shallow right center. It will be the center fielder making the play, Mr. Mike Trout. Anyway, Van Slyke with a 2-out pop fly double, and the Dodgers then got base hits from Puig, Grandal, a 2-run inning, and that turned out to be the difference in the game. So 1 out, and here is Yasiel Puig. It will be interesting to see how Heaney and Puig get along in this at-bat. The number 5 hitter in the opposing lineup has not gotten a hit off Heaney. The number 5 hitter in all of the teams he has faced is 0 for 18. Puig takes the first one. The 1-0 pitch is low and inside at the shins, and the count 2-0. The leadoff hitter against Heaney is batting .368. The 2-0 pitch on the way, and a strike, 2-1. Last night we showed you a picture that was worth at least 1,000 words. Puig swung at the first pitch, grounded out, swung at the first pitch and flied to right. This time fouls it away. And on the fly ball to right field, we showed you Mark McGwire, and he shook his head like a father, frustrated and annoyed over his son's inability to do something as simple as taking a pitch. That told a lot. Here's the 2-2 pitch, and Puig takes on a check swing, no swing, and the count goes 3-2. So Heaney facing a number 5 hitter, and he's gone all the way, 3-2. Puig waits. Heaney into the windup. Left-hander delivers. Check swing foul into the crowd. And the count remains 3-2. Andrew Heaney out of Oklahoma City. Went to Oklahoma State. He led all NCAA pitchers in college with 140 strikeouts. The next pitch to Puig is just off the plate. Ball 4. Mike Scioscia gesturing to the plate umpire Chris Siegel with his left hand, said, "Say, how could you call that a ball?" So Puig draws a walk, and with 1 out, the batter will be Yasmani Grandal. Grandal last night had 3 hits. Scioscia still jawing at Chris Siegel, and he's going to be thrown out. Mike Scioscia's kicked out of the game while he's in the dugout. And he's coming out to talk to Chris Siegel, his first year as a major league umpire. It's one thing to throw an umpire out if he comes up to the plate and challenges a play, but instead the pitch was off the plate, but where Mike stood, he thought it caught a corner, and Mike hollering at Siegel, and finally the rookie umpire just threw him out. I can remember an umpire named Frank Dascoli, and we're talking a long time ago, in an exhibition game. I forget the other team playing the Dodgers, but Dascoli not only threw somebody out in the exhibition game, he sent everybody in the Dodger dugout back to the clubhouse, and the only players allowed to stay in the dugout were the 9 players involved in the game. And I said to Dascoli, "Why in the world would you throw somebody out in an exhibition game?" And Frank said, "I was sending them a message. I'm not going to take it during an exhibition game, and I'm certainly not going to take it with major leaguers." Well, Chris Siegel, annoyed over Mike Scioscia, and of course Scioscia's livid, but he's been kicked out. Most of the time, an umpire will give you a lot of leeway as long as you're not inciting the crowds. However, with Scioscia, he got kicked out while standing in his usual position in the dugout. Mike now goes down the steps and goes back to the clubhouse. So Dino Ebel looks like the manager in charge now. And with 1 out, Yasmani Grandal at the plate, and he hits a hopper into left center for a base hit. Puig around second, on his way to third. The throw to third, he is in there. Holding at first is Grandal. So Yasiel Puig, the wild horse, goes from first to third on the base hit. And for Yasmani Grandal, he now has 4 straight hits against the Angels in the 2 games. So Heaney in trouble with 1 out, first and third, and Alex Guerrero coming up. Interesting, in his young career, Andrew Heaney, more ground balls than fly balls. So far today, 4 fly balls and now a ground ball single. So it's a little different game he's pitching as Alex Guerrero checks in. Guerrero hit a home run down the left field line last night, just inside the foul pole and in the first 2 or 3 rows. And Alex takes a strike, the count 0-1. Puig coming down the line, had to get back to the bag on the fake by Carlos Perez, who, as I told you, has a very good arm. So Puig at third, Grandal at first, 1 out. Guerrero shies away from a pitch at the right kneecap, and the count 1 ball and 1 strike. No score, bottom of the 2nd inning. Andrew Heaney and Clayton Kershaw. So Greinke and Kershaw versus Trout and Pujols. Now the 1-1 pitch on the way. Heaney delivers. That's foul back. 1-2. Boy, if you've never seen Heaney pitch, and I haven't, you can fall in love with his delivery. Wow. He's 6'2", 190, has the nicest, easiest delivery. Just kind of flips the ball up to the plate, but it comes up there with a lot of movement. Now the 1-2 pitch on the way. Left-handed delivers. It is swung on and missed at the plate. Bases are occupied, so no play, and Guerrero strikes out. So 2 down, and the batter will be Kike Hernandez. Pitch in the dirt, though Alex badly fooled. Nice, easy delivery for Andrew Heaney. In the first 15 pitches of his games, the opposition is hitting 115. Through 30, they're hitting 240. Well, he's ready to make his 28th pitch. From 31 to 45, the opposition is hitting only 208 against him. Left-handed delivers, flips it in at the knees for a strike, and the count 0-1. Hernandez, 3 home runs, 12 RBIs, trying to get Puig home from third, not to mention Grandal at first. No score, bottom of the second inning. Mike Scioscia ejected by the rookie umpire, Chris Siegel. And boy, Mike was furious to be kicked out while still in the dugout. Strike 1 pitch low at his feet. Nice block by Perez. 1 ball and 1 strike to count to Kike Hernandez. On deck, pretty good hitting pitcher, Clayton Kershaw. So Andrew Heaney, with men in scoring position, by the way, the opposition is hitting 211 against him, and with 2 out, 182. There's the 1-1 pitch in the dirt, blocked again by Perez. So 2-1 to count. Puig, of course, has to hold, as does Grandal at first. So Heaney rubbing up a new ball. Puig standing at third. Barely a lead at all. As Heaney is set, looks over at Grandal, and the 2-1 pitch is taken inside, ball 3. During the year, coming into this game, Heaney had walked 5 and struck out 31. So a great 6-to-1 ratio. 3-1. Heaney delivers, and it's a strike. 3-2. So with a full count and 2 down, Albert Pujols is still on the bag, holding Yasmani Grandal. Normally in this spot, first baseman might be behind the runner, but Albert's holding the corner. Heaney looks over there, and the 3-2 pitch, Puig walking down the line, and the pitch fouled away. So 3-2, naturally, the runner at first, Grandal was going, and Puig was walking down the line. In fact, Puig now is talking to Lorenzo Bundy. If you're going to think about stealing home, and we haven't seen that in quite a while, the ideal situation, a left-hander with his back to you and a right-hand batter at the plate. Oh, we'll see. Puig just faking down the line. Heaney delivers way inside, and the bases are loaded. So Grandal goes to second. Holding at third is Puig. Dodgers with 2 walks and a base hit. And the batter is Clayton Kershaw, trying to help his own cause. No score, bottom of the second inning. Kershaw pretty handy with the bat. He has 7 hits, including 2 doubles. He has 2 runs batted in. Strikes out about a third of the time, which makes him very dangerous. The Heaney with the bases loaded delivers, and it is swung on and missed. 0-1. With runners in scoring position, right-hand batters hitting .222 against Heaney. Andrew ready in the strike 1 pitch, and that's off the plate. So 1 ball and 1 strike. No score in the second inning. Dodgers got a walk to Puig, a single by Grandal, a 2-out walk to Hernandez, Now the 1-1 pitch. Kershaw looks at a strike, and the count 1-2. So Heaney, who has shown he's a good, solid pitcher, he beats clubs better than 500. He's been dazzling in the daytime. The 1-2 pitch to Kershaw, poked on the ground to short. Ibar is up with it, plenty of time to throw him out. So the Dodgers get a base hit, a couple of walks, but they leave 3. And at the end of 2, no score. At 110, Dodgers and Angels, and receive your very own Dodger cap presented by Security Benefit. For more information, go to Dodgers.com/promotions. No score in the third. Big story early. The likable Mike Scioscia kicked out of the game. He'll be back tomorrow. And for Clayton Kershaw, he'll be facing Taylor Featherston, then Andrew Heaney, the pitcher, and Shane Victorino. Clayton had a shot with the bases loaded but tapped out. So now he'll be facing the opposing pitcher, but first he'll see Featherston. Taylor Featherston lives in Houston, Texas. Went to school at TCU, and he was originally drafted by the Rockies. He was a shortstop and helped them get to the 2010 College World Series. Right-hand batter, and Taylor takes a strike, and the count 0-1. Featherston is 6'1" and 185. He was originally signed by the Rockies, picked up by the Cubs, and then sold to the Angels. Swings, doesn't get it. 0-2 the count. I was interested to see who was carrying the number 8, and it's Taylor Featherston. The reason I was thinking about 8, that's the favorite number of Shane Victorino. Here's the strike 2 pitch to Taylor, and he takes ball 1. Victorino coming here, and he's opted to wear 18, but I wouldn't be too surprised if Victorino winds up making a deal with Featherston for the number. The 1-2 curveball, check swing, no swing, and the count 2-2. Featherston in the minor leagues homered double figures 3 years in a row. So far he has 1 home run this year for the Angels. 2-2 pitch on the way to Taylor, and he swings, fouls it away. Meanwhile, waiting in the dugout, wearing number 18, Shane Victorino. Terrific guy. Really enjoyed him when he was with the Dodgers. The next pitch is low, ball 3-2. In fact, with all the bobbleheads that are given out, Shane Victorino's bobblehead is the best one I've ever seen. You know he's from Hawaii, don't you? Yeah. His bobblehead has a grass skirt on it. Here's the 3-2 pitch, foul back. Grass skirt, and it does the hula. And what the Phillies did when they gave Victorino's bobblehead out, they had a great idea, and they gave them out to the Liberty Cab Company in Philadelphia. So he was doing the hula in every taxi cab around Philadelphia. It was a great idea. 3-2 to Featherston, foul back. So Taylor hanging tough, making Kershaw work. By the way, Clayton's already up to 42 pitches. So this is an 8-pitch at bat. Coming up, number 9 to Taylor Featherston. For Featherston, this is his rookie year. He never made it either with the Cubs or the Rockies. 3-2, Taylor takes in at the hands. So Kershaw walks Featherston leading off, and that will bring up Andrew Heaney. Heaney, as an American League pitcher, has had 3 at-bats. He has sacrificed, and he has struck out twice. So it's not too hard to figure that Heaney will try to get the bunt down, and then Victorino will be coming up. Last night, Santiago struck out twice in a starting role. Kershaw out of his stretch, looks over at Featherston, now to the plate, and the pitch a strike, and the count 0-1. Featherston has stolen 2 bases. He's been caught once. We'll see if the bunt is still on. All eyes on Gary DiSarcina. For Kershaw, it's one of those maddening games. There's only been 3 swings and misses and a dozen foul balls already. Strike 1 pitch, the bunt in the air, caught by Kershaw, throws to first base in time to double up Featherston. It was Howie Kendrick on the bag to handle the throw. So the sacrifice instead is a bunt double play from Kershaw to Howie Kendrick. So 2 down, and the batter will be Shane Victorino. Two out, 3rd inning, no score. Victorino will bring a lot to the dance. I mean, he runs well, and he's also picked up at least 4 Gold Gloves that I know of. And Shane checks in, has a look at ball 1. For several years, Shane Victorino was a switch hitter, but he has given that up. He was an outstanding track star in Hawaii. The 1-0 pitch in for a strike. He was born in Maui, as they say over there, Maui no Ka'oi. Maui is the best. Lives in Wailuku in the Big Island of Hawaii. The 1-1 pitch on the way is swung on and missed 1 and 2. Naturally, when you hear of an athlete coming from Hawaii, you think of surfboards and all of that. Not for Victorino. He was a track star running the 100 meters. The 1-2 pitch on the way, Shane fouls it back. In fact, he won the state championship. He ran the 100 meters in 10.6. Then he went right back and he won the 200 as well. After his senior year in 1999, the Dodgers invited him to Dodger Stadium for a pre-draft workout. Here's the 1-2 pitch. Slow curveball got him. There was one other player who came to the workout with Shane. His name, Troy Polamalu, the future Pittsburgh Steeler All-Pro safety. He with the long mane. And at the end of 2.5 innings, no score. On another tough show. It figures when you have hitters who can take a game and run away with it, hitters like Pujols and Trout, and you can have pitchers who can shut down the best lineup in Kershaw and Greinke. By the way, the Dodgers definitely pitching Matt Latos tomorrow. The Angels have not announced their pitcher for Sunday. Andrew Heaney getting ready. It's the second time through the lineup. Jimmy Rollins flied to right field in the first inning, 0 for 1. Rollins batting right-handed. He's hitting .322, hitting right-handed. 1 ball and no strikes. Which brings up a question. Is it right to put up the fact his average as a right-handed batter? That's foul back. Or would you prefer his total batting average, including how he hits left-handed? Because there's a big difference. I mean, Rollins hitting 192 left, 322 right. And he lifts one to center. Trout goes back a little bit, but waiting for it to come down. One hands it for the out. So a couple of fly balls, and we have one away. There have been 5 fly balls against Heaney in 2 1/3 innings. And the batter now, Howie Kendrick, he flied to right field in the first inning. Heaney ready, left-handed deals and gets a strike, and the count 0-1. Howie made a dazzling play, took a base hit away and turned it into a force play on a ball hit up the middle by Eric Ibar, and they're able to force Pujols at second base. Looked like a base hit for sure, except to Kendrick, who got it to Rollins. Ibar just did avoid being doubled up. Next pitch a strike, and the count 0-2. And then for good measure, Perez came up. He hit a ball to the shortstop hole, and Rollins made a backhanded smothering stop to get a force play. Strike 2 pitch fouled away. We're in the bottom of the third. No score. Beautiful day in the ballpark. But it's smart. Sunblock and water. Strike 2 pitch away. Kendrick was fortunate to get a little bit of that. He went chasing. No balls and 2 strikes. The breeze up above. We don't feel it down inside the stadium. If you look at the flags in center, they are barely stirring at all. A brief zephyr comes by to say hello. The next one sliced foul down the right field line. So Kendrick, who gets a lot of base hits to right field. Kendrick homered into the seats in left center last night. He has 8 home runs. Strike 2 pitch at his feet. 1-2. Of his 8 home runs, Kendrick has only 1 that went straight down the line to left field. Heaney ready, and his 1-2 pitch on the inside corner at the knees. So it's Kendrick's turn to grumble a little bit, but down he goes. And we have 2 out in the third inning, and the batter is Adrian Gonzalez. So Kendrick can't believe that he's been rung up. For Heaney, that would be his 2nd strikeout. For Kershaw, he has 2 strikeouts. And here's Adrian Gonzalez. Heaney into the windup, left-hander flips it up there, swung on and missed. 0-1. Boy, I can't get over what a nice, easy delivery Andrew Heaney has. Wow. 24 years old, been a pro since 2012 out of Oklahoma State. Adrian tries to uppercut, comes up empty, and the count 0-2. No score. The Dodgers did have the bases loaded with 2 out in the second inning, but Kershaw grounded out. Gio Vitello way out in right field, a good 20 feet beyond the skin. Strike 2 pitch. Adrian takes just off the plate, and the count 1-2. Heaney waits, and his 1-2 pitch on the way taken high and inside on a check swing. 2-2. When the Marlins signed Heaney, I mean, they went for the big bucks. A little over $2.5 million bonus. The next pitch is lined down the left field line, foul out of play. But I can understand. I mean, you're a scout. You've looked at hundreds of players and pitchers, and all of a sudden you see a kid with that effortless delivery. Wow. He's growing up and growing up well with the Angels. 2-2 pitch, fastball inside. So that's what he's doing with Gonzalez, inside and outside, and he's gone all the way. He's already walked 2, and he has Van Slyke on deck. The 3-2 pitch, ground ball to the shallow right fielder known as Gio Vitella, who throws to first in time for the out. So the Dodgers go in order for 3, and at the end of 3, no score. Brought to you by the 2015 Jeep Cherokee. With an EPA estimated 31 highway MPG, it's the perfect choice. Visit Jeep.com today. And by Flex Alert. This summer, the power is in your hands. FlexAlert.org. Fourth inning, no score in the ball game. Clayton Kershaw ready to pitch to Johnny Gio Vitella, then Mike Trout and Albert Pujols. And ball 1 to Gio Vitella. Clayton came in with 29 scoreless innings, so he's gotten it up now to 32. Ground ball hard by the diving Kendrick. So Gio Vitella is aboard with a leadoff single. That would be hit number 2, given up by Clayton Kershaw. And now here they come, Mike Trout and Albert Pujols. When you're talking about Mike Trout, there are a lot of angles, but how about this one? Most home runs hit before 24th birthday. My all-time idol as a kid growing up, Melvin Thomas Ott from Gretna, Louisiana. He hit 153. Eddie Matthews, the slope-shouldered left-hand hitting third baseman of the Braves, 153. Then you have Griffey Jr., Mike Trout, and Frank Robinson, with Trout and Robinson at 30 home runs. Remarkable. So Mike up there struck out in the first inning on a Kershaw slow curve. Takes a fastball for a strike. Sometimes in a ball game that features Trout and Pujols, you'd like to see a dog run on the field, just so you could have time to talk about what they have done. I mean, you have two of the most remarkable players in the game on the same team, like Kershaw and Greinke. 1-1 Mike Trout, just amazing. I told the story last night. Mariano Rivera had his glove auctioned off, his major league glove, and it paid off for $14,756. The great Rivera's glove. The 1-1 pitch, ball 2. They auctioned off Mike Trout's high school glove. Not a big league glove, his high school glove, and that went for $15,810, more than Rivera's. So Trouty, or Mikey as they call him back there in Millville, quite a player. 2-1. A little roller to third. Guerrero just in time at second base. Took Alex a while, and maybe it also took a while for Kendrick to get to the bag with Trout, but it was Guerrero who was a little bit slow, I think, in his reactions and made that a very close play. And so close, we'll see now whether the Angels are going to challenge it. Here's Guerrero. Flips it over. Waiting for it was Kendrick. And we're watching. The Angels are looking at their videographer's view of the play. And now they've decided not to argue, or review is the better word. So Trout hits into a force play, 5-4. And Pujols coming up. Albert singled in the inning. Checking Trout, he has stolen 10 of 14. Trout does everything very, very well, so Pujols becomes even more dangerous. And a strike, 0-1. 2 years ago, Trout stole 33. Last year, he was so busy doing everything else, he stole 16. This year, he has 10 already. And Pujols trying to pick him up. No score, 1 out in the 4th. Check swing on a 1-1 count. Albert Pujols, who is certainly on his way to the Hall of Fame. I don't think there's any argument about that. Give you an idea. Probably the best player I ever saw day after day was Willie Mays. Mays had 1,000 hits and 200 home runs in 825 games. Pujols, he did it in 806. 1-1. Slow curveball, that maddening off-speed pitch that drives all of the hitters to distraction. Here it comes, and there it goes. That's the pitch that got Trout in the first inning. But now if you're a hitter, you're saying to yourself, I can't believe he's going to throw another sloppy curveball like that. So I'm looking fastball. Let's see what he gets. Instead of throw to first. No score. 4th inning. No runs, 2 hits for the Angels. No runs, 1 hit for the Dodgers. Grandal has the Dodger hit. Pujols and Giovotella have the hits for the Angels. Fastball down and low. 2-2 the count to Albert Pujols. Pujols 6'3", a good 230 pounds. He's 35 years old, if you wonder. He has 30 or more home runs, 13 of 15 seasons. Henry Aaron had 30 or more in 15 seasons. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Slow breaking ball, and down he goes. That maddening off-speed pitch. So Pujols strikes out. That would be strikeout number 3. And the batter is Eric Ibar. Nothing like seeing a big home run hitter go after an off-speed pitch. He's got to really be muttering going back to the dugout. So Kershaw now with 2 out. Trout a threat now to run in a scoreless tie in the 4th inning. Mike does not have a big lead, but nevertheless Kershaw wants him to know he's aware of him. So the battle within the war, Kershaw versus Trout. Meanwhile, Ibar, who was robbed of a hit by Kendrick in the 2nd inning at the plate. Remember, you're looking at a 300 hitter, right-handed. Yes, he did. No balls and 1 strike to count, Eric. Ibar overall 282, but that doesn't do him justice when he's hitting right-handed. The 2 home runs that he has came left-handed. He's had 100 bunt singles in his career. Trout now has increased his lead. Kershaw looking at him. There's that off-speed curve, but this one stayed up. 1 ball and 1 strike. Seemed like 100 years ago, Rip Sewell had the eephus pitch. I mean, he threw it, I'm guessing now, 15, 20 feet high in the air, and it dropped for strikes. There's that off-speed breaking ball at 72. Then they count 1-2. So when they asked Sewell, what do you call that pitch? This freak, almost fly ball that you pitch to the hitter. And he came up with the word eephus. Well, Kershaw's big slow curveball is not that high to be an eephus, but it starts way out of the strike zone and then lands in a pot of gold. 1-2. Fastball got him. So after the off-speed pitches, zip comes the 94. So he strikes out Pujols on the off-speed curve, comes back to blow Ibar away with the fastball. And at the end of 3.5 innings, no score. Dodgers and Nationals, and pick up your Fernando Valenzuela pin, number 5 in the Cy Young Pin Collector Series, presented by 76. For more information, visit Dodgers.com/promotions. We go to the bottom of the 4th. No score in the ball game. Dodgers 1.5 games in front of the Giants, and the Angels 2 games behind the team they have to beat, Houston. Problem for the Angels, they've lost 4 straight and 7 out of 8. Dodgers the only team in the major leagues without a 4-game losing streak. And now here's Scott Van Slyke. Ball one. Van Slyke fly to center in the second inning. That's on the inside corner. Fastball at 90. 58 pitches. So he's in that area where the opposition is hitting 167 against him. However, after 60 pitches, he's usually in trouble. Hard ground ball, base hit into left field. So Van Slyke opens it up with a single to left, and the batter will be Yasiel Puig.
66, Yasiel Puig.
So 59 pitches for Andrew Heaney. When he makes his 61st pitch between 61 and 75, the opposition is hitting 364. It's the only weakness in the first 90 pitches, and he's coming up to that zone in 2 pitches. Meanwhile, Puig, the number 5 hitter, and we mentioned the number 5 hitter so far this year, is 0 for 18. Check for a strike, 0-1. No runs, 2 hits, no errors. Yasiel checking with Lorenzo Bundy. Van Slyke at first, nobody out. Van Slyke has 1 stolen base, but he's also been caught once. That's fouled away. So Puig now finds himself in a hole. No balls and 2 strikes. Yasiel came into the game hitting .254. 7 home runs, 26 runs batted in. This is his 57th game. That's all. 1-2. Dodgers playing their 104th, and he's in 57. On deck, Yasmani Grandal. Heaney plants the left foot, very deliberate. Now the young left-hander ready. Big breaking ball at Puig's feet. And the count, 2 balls and 2 strikes. Andrew Heaney, quite a study to watch him. Remember, the Dodgers in that massive trade got Heaney and then shipped him to the Angels to get Howie Kendrick. Basically, fastball, slider, curve, even a cutter, and a changeup. A hopper to third. Nice stop at third by Featherston. And they'll get an out at second, but that's all. Whoa. Puig crushed the ball, and Taylor Featherston almost lost a syllable, but he stayed with it.
Number 9, Yasmani Grandal.
Wonderful play at third base. So Featherston got it down to second, and a good hard slide by Van Slyke slowed up the throw to first. So 1 away, Yasmani Grandal checking in. Grandal 3 for 3 his last 3 at bats last night, single first time up. So he has 4 straight hits against the Angels. You know what's an odd thing? And if Mike Scioscia happens to be looking at the telecast, we don't mean to embarrass you, and the club really does miss you, as Puig bluffs over at first. Since 2012, the Angel record 7 wins, 1 loss when Mike gets ejected. Hello, Mike. My dear old friend. That's quite a note. 1 ball and 1 strike to count to Yasmani Grandal with Alex Guerrero on deck. No score. Heaney and Kershaw. Puig takes a reasonable lead, draws a fake but nothing else. As a base stealer, Puig has gotten 1 stolen base, but he's been caught twice. He has a short lead, and still they go after him. Yasmani Grandal, a switch hitter, is doing very well from either side of the plate. But for average, he came in hitting .365, batting right-handed. All 14 home runs were hit left-handed. So Heaney, with one out, trying to keep an eye on Puig. Again, Puig 0 for 1. So that number 5 hitter is 0 for 19, and something happened on that play. I would think a mix-up on the signs. So down to second base goes Puig. Carlos Perez certainly not on the same page. Just kind of reached up to backhand the ball. That's got to be a pass ball unless they decide a mixed sign. Because with a runner at first, you can't just stay in a crouch and kind of backhand that pitch. There was no shift. Sometimes that'll happen in the 8th inning on a brutally hot day, but not this early, and it's going to be a pass ball, and it should be. All right, 2-1 the count, and we'll see just how important that is. Just low and off the plate, ball 3. So the Dodgers get a break. Puig moves to second. Grandal hitting. Guerrero waiting on deck. Puig trying to move the infield a little bit. The only man who can go for it is Gio Vitella, the second baseman. Grandal, ground ball to the shortstop. Long throw, but Ibar has the arm. So Puig gets to hold on. Grandal taps to short. And the batter, Alex Guerrero, 0 for 1. Remember now, Andrew Heaney came in with a record of 5-0. The Angels have won all 6 of his starts. He had an earned run average coming in of 1.7. Meanwhile, Kershaw has now gone 33 consecutive scoreless innings, shutting down the Angels for 4 innings thus far. Fastball fouled away. The thing about Heaney, when you sit up here watching him, it's such a nice long fluid delivery, and then the fact that it moves around inside, outside, up, down, marvelous to watch. 0-1. That was down, and it's a drive to right and into the hands of Victorino, and that'll be that. Leadoff single, and that's that. So no runs, 1 hit. At the end of 4, no score. Latos at about 25 after 2 on this Saturday afternoon arrived at Dodger Stadium to begin his career as a Dodger starting pitcher, and he'll be on the mound against the Angels tomorrow. Meanwhile, Clayton Kershaw ready to go to his 5th inning. He has 33 scoreless innings, and remember last year he had a string of 41. He joins Orel Hershiser, Roger Clemens, Kenny Rogers, Brandon Webb, and Cliff Lee. And that first pitch popped in the air to center field, and Hernandez makes the play. So Carlos Perez, a fly ball. 1 out in the 5th inning. David DeJesus coming up, popped up in the 2nd inning. Those other players mentioned were pitchers who had 2 years, 2 stretches where they had at least 30. And of course, Orel Hershiser had the big one at 59, and about 4 years before he had 33 2/3. So DeJesus checking in, no score, 5th inning. It's indeed baseball's answer to push against shove, and a strike. DeJesus, along with David Murphy and Shane Victorino, all 3 new outfielders for the Angels. DeJesus, a Brooklyn boy, 4th round pick by the Royals out of Rutgers University, the banks of the old Raritan. That was back in 2000. Played 2 years with the Cubs. Foul back. He had 2 years with the Royals. 1 year he had 12 home runs, 73 RBIs. The next year he had 13 home runs, 71 runs batted in. And he had 5 home runs when he came from the Rays to the Angels this year. 0-2. All 1. Clayton Kershaw so far has made 70 pitches. Clayton had a lot of foul balls to add to the pitch count. 2nd inning very tough when he made 21. Slow curveball and a high fly ball to center. Kike Hernandez. 1 away. Say Monday, be sure to join Alano Rizzo and Don Mattingly. They'll bring you an inside look at the best moments of the week on and off the field. So don't miss Dodger Clubhouse Monday at 7 on Sportsnet LA. 2 down here in the 5th inning. Couple of fly balls. And here's Taylor Featherston. Walked in the 3rd inning. Could have lost a few feathers on that ball hit by Puig in the 4th inning. Boy, he made a great play to stay with that thing. Two out, 5th inning, no score. Each side with 2 hits. 2-0. Fastball, sound like a cracked bat. That'll do it. So a 1-2-3 inning. I'm sure that's what Kershaw liked. And at the end of 4 1/2, no score. your Southern California Toyota dealers. Now, during Toyota's summer savings, you can save big on any 2015 Camry. And buy Jack in the Box. For a limited time, try the new Portobello Mushroom Buttery Jack with melted garlic herb butter. Bottom of the fifth inning, no score in the ball game. By the way, Andrew Heaney is almost through that vulnerable area. Remember, we told you from his pitch count 61 to 75, the opposition is hitting 364. Well, he's made 71 pitches. Ball one to Kike Hernandez, who walked in the second inning. High fly ball to right field. Victorino is there, fighting the sun. One away. So now 2 pitches left in that very dangerous area. Because as we mentioned earlier, he's remarkable in his pitch count. 1 to 15, batting average 115. The next to 30, 240. The next to 45, 208. The next to 60, 167. Then this one area, 61 to 75 pitches, the opposition hitting 364. Now, once he gets to pitch 76 to 90, the opposition is hitting 167 against him. So he is special, and he is now through that one unspecial time. And it's interesting when you go to the fourth inning, a leadoff single by Van Slyke, and then that ball was crushed by Puig. But he got out of that dangerous area despite the pass ball, getting Grandal and Guerrero. So when no score, bottom of the fifth inning, 1 out. 2-2 to Clayton. Came up with 1 shot to help himself. Bases loaded, 2 out in the second inning, and he grounded out. And just missing for ball 3. Jimmy Rollins on deck. Foul back. Well, it was the kind of a game we expected last night with Zach Greinke pitching, and he was brilliant. And now Kershaw going up against another tough left-hander in Heaney, and that'll do it. Clayton all ready to take a stroll to first. Down he goes. For Heaney, that would be his 3rd strikeout.
Jimmy Rollins.
And Jimmy Rollins, who has flied to right and flied to center, coming up. Dodgers have 7 fly balls against Heaney. Because if you're going to give up fly balls, pretty good sized ballpark. And a strike. Clayton, although he winds up striking out, at least made Heaney work. He had 8 pitches during that at bat. Pulled foul. No balls and 2 strikes to Jimmy Rollins. Bottom of the fifth. The Angels have not been able to get a man to second base. Dodgers have the bases loaded. 1-2. Angels 3 games under 500 on the road. And Rollins a high foul. Here comes Pujols. So the Dodgers tiptoed through the 5th inning, and at the end of 5, no score. 1957, the great first baseman Gil Hodges hit a grand slam home run. It was his 13th of his career, and as it turned out, that was the last grand slam hit by a Brooklyn Dodger. And then the Dodgers became the Los Angeles Dodgers and moved to Los Angeles. And who was the first Los Angeles Dodger to hit a grand slam? Altogether, Gil Hodges. Let's go back to this one. Oh, and 1 to count to Andrew Heaney, who bunted into a double play. It was a nice play by Kershaw, fielding the bunt in the air and doubling up Featherston at first base. Howie Kendrick covered the throw by Kershaw. 1 and 2 the count to Heaney. 5 innings in the books for Clayton Kershaw, so he's got 34 consecutive scoreless innings. And down goes Heaney, 1 away. So since the base hit by Gio Vitella in the 4th inning, Kershaw has retired 7 in a row. Picks up his 5th strikeout. And here's the whiz from Wailuku, Shane Victorino. I mentioned he had 4 Gold Gloves, and that holds up. He had 3 Gold Gloves with the Phillies and 1 with the Red Sox. Ball 1. In fact, he was a World Series champion with the Phillies in 2008, and the same story with the Red Sox in 2013. Foul back. So for the Angels, they pick up a man accustomed to September pressure and a fellow who knows all about playing in the World Series. Shane Victorino. 1-1. That's ball 2. That must have been quite a sight. We mentioned it earlier. Victorino invited to a tryout here, and another Hawaiian came with him, Troy Polamalu, who became the Steeler All-Pro safety. Strike. 2-2 to Shane. Victorino is only 5'9", but about a solid 190. And the breaking ball, the dreaded number 2. So Victorino strikes out a second time. That's 6 strikeouts for Clayton Kershaw.
Second baseman Johnny Giovatella.
Now Johnny Giovatella, who has grounded to short and singled to center. For any pitcher, including Kershaw, you get 2 out, you really want to get Giovatella. You don't want to have to throw out of the stretch against Trout. Better you see him leading off an inning. And a strike to Gio, as they call him. Giovatella, who played a lot of baseball as a kid growing up in the Louisiana area of Metairie. 1-1. He now lives in Harahan, Louisiana. Went to the University of New Orleans, and the big deal, a restaurant opened up owned by his father called Gio's Pizza and Spaghetti. Well, what would you expect? Irish stew with a name like Giovatella? And all of his teammates loved hanging around with Johnny Gio. 2-1. Fastball, little roller, and it was a foul ball off the foot now, so no play. 2-2 the count. Down it goes, grazing the top of the left foot. Got a little bit of the shin guard, thank goodness for him. So still 2 balls and 2 strikes. Giovatella hitting .266, 1 for 2. Pretty good breeze now blowing left to right. Curveball hit in the air to left field, coming up in a hurry, and Van Slyke just keeps on coming with the ball. So Kershaw has settled in now, 3, 6, 9 in a row since Gio Vitello's single, and at the end of 5 1/2, he now has 35 scoreless innings, and the game is scoreless. A perfect game against the Cubs, and Bob Henley became the first pitcher in Major League history to throw 4 no-hitters. Well, Thursday, August 13th, the first 40,000 fans in attendance receive a Sandy Koufax bobblehead presented by United Healthcare. For tickets, go to Dodgers.com/promotions. Andrew Heaney has made 85 pitches. Clayton Kershaw has made 88 pitches, and we go to the bottom of the 6th, no score. Howie Kendrick flied to right and struck out. Totals are identical, no runs, 2 hits, no errors. Line drive, base hit. Mike Trout up there to get it. So Kendrick opens up with a leadoff single. The Dodgers had a leadoff single by Van Slyke in the 4th inning. And now they get the base hit by Kendrick leading off. So Heaney will now pitch to Gonzalez, Van Slyke, and Puig in the 6th inning. Howie Kendrick has stolen 5 out of 7. And a strike to Adrian. 0-1 the count. Gonzalez is not the typical left-hand batter, in the sense a lot of times the manager would keep the first baseman on the bag so that Adrian would have a bigger hole on the right side. But actually he uses the whole field. Pujols on the bag. Off speed, and he's way out in front of it. 0-2. Outfield, slight split in the sense that Trout shades Adrian a few steps towards left center. Victorino gives Adrian Gonzalez almost all of straightaway right field. So it figures you see an outfield deployed like that. That left-handed Heaney is going to be throwing a lot of breaking balls away because they're set up to handle the ball hit away. And that's all that Adrian has seen thus far, and it's a no-ball 2-strike count. Heaney now has made 90 pitches. And he shows him a fastball. 1-2. Everything else down and away. Waiting on deck, Van Slyke. 1-2. And fastball whacked into right center. So on his way to third is Kendrick, and the Dodgers have runners at first and third, nobody out. So that was a surprise pitch. After all those breaking balls down and away, and Adrian was waiting and singles to right. So the Dodgers in business now. Fastball right out over the plate. Adrian all over it. So first and third, nobody out. Dodgers had first and third with one out in the second inning and came up empty, but they were working their way to the bottom of the lineup and now hold everything. Mike Butcher, the pitching coach, going out to counsel Heaney. Fernando Salas, a right-hander, is now throwing. I was just going to say, we were giving you the areas of how Heaney pitches according to the number of pitches he makes. And our card winds up at 90 pitches. So we have no idea how he does after 90, but we do know he came in here undefeated, 5-0. So Mike has had his little chat with Heaney. Gonzalez at first, Kendrick is at third. And now the Dodgers have Van Slyke, Puig, and Grandal. No runs, 4 hits for the Dodgers. No runs, 2 hits for the Angels. Van Slyke fly to center, single to left. Fastball in the dirt, ball 1. So interesting as he tried to fool Gonzalez. What's that old story? You get a fastball by Gonzalez as easy as throwing a lamb chop past a wolf. Well, that's ball 2. 2-0. Van Slyke hitting .256. And missed again, ball 3. We were wondering about why our notes ended at 90 pitches. Heaney has faced only 8 batters after 90 pitches. The batters are 1 for 8. O'Brien Hagan, who can come up with miraculous notes, right on the ball yet again. That's a strike. 3-1. Outstanding. Three and 1 to Van Slyke. First and third, nobody out. Bottom of the 6th, no score. Angels have been shut out 7 times. And a high fly ball to left field. De Jesus to the track to make the catch. Tagging up at third is Kendrick to score. Gonzalez holding at first. And the Dodgers lead 1-0. So Van Slyke had that lucky pop fly double last night, and that led to the Dodger victory. Now comes up with a long fly ball, almost hit it out. So the Dodgers lead 1-0. The Angels have been shut out 5 times, and I believe they feel they got away with something. I mean, Scott Van Slyke just missed hitting the bleachers, and Dino Abell says that's too close for comfort, so the young left-hander comes out. 1-0 Dodgers, and Andrew leaves the game. again. Hope you can be out here with us if possible at 1:05. Then Monday, the Dodgers will travel, arrive in Philadelphia Monday evening, and open up another road trip, a quick one. 3 games in Philadelphia and the weekend with the Pittsburgh Pirates, and then the Dodgers come back to open up again with the Washington Nationals, followed by the Cincinnati Reds. So for Andrew Heaney, a very impressive young left-hander. However, I am sure no wonder we didn't have anything more than 90 pitches. When he gets past 90, apparently he's not quite ready to go the distance. But he turned in a very tough 5 1/3 innings. Dodgers lead 1-0. And Fernando Salas, originally signed by the Cardinals out of the Mexican League back in 2007. He's from Huatabampo in Sonora, Mexico. 6'2", 200-pounder. And he'll be facing Yasiel Puig, who walked and hit into a force play. The force play is when he almost broke the ball and hit that ball to Featherston. Off speed, first pitch popped up, foul ground. Pujols will put it away. So Puig falling into that trap, going after the first pitch, and fouls out. So 1 away, now 2, and Yasmani Grandal coming up. Grandal singled and grounded to short. 1 for 2, hitting .286. Off speed, ball 1. Salas, 6'2", 200-pounder. He was 30 years old the end of May. Growing up, he never thought he'd play American League or American baseball. He was a big fan of Mexican League baseball. Played a couple of years for Saltillo in the Mexican League, and then the Cardinals purchased him. He came up to the Cardinals in 2010, stayed with them till he moved to the Angels last year. 1-1. High drive to center. Trout going back, still going back at the wall. It goes out. And the Dodgers lead 3-0. So Fernando Salas comes in, and Grandal takes him deep. For Salas, that would be the 5th home run that he's allowed. That's a lot of home runs when you realize he's only worked 39 innings. Looked like a breaking ball, but came down around the knees. And when Grandal is hitting left-handed, you think power. All 15 home runs of Yasmani's when he's hitting left-handed. So the Dodgers last night had Kendrick homer and Guerrero homer, and now they get a big home run from Yasmani Grandal and a congratulation from Jimmy Rollins. 3-0 Dodgers, 6th inning. 0-2 to Guerrero. Andrew Heaney started the game. He's charged with 2 of the 3 runs. High fastball. Guerrero goes after it. Down he goes. Yasmani Grandal, batting left-handed, hits his 15th home run. Trout on his horse went racing back to the wall and just ran out of real estate. And Grandal, a 2-run home run, and the Dodgers lead 3-0. brought to you by Nissan. Choose Nissan today for great offers on our most exciting lineup ever. Shop ChooseNissan.com. We go to the 7th inning with the Dodgers leading 3-0. A big 3 on the boards in the bottom of the 6th inning. Couple of base hits, the fly ball, and then the home run. Alberto Callaspo is now at third, finishing up for Guerrero. And Kershaw will now face Trout, Pujols, and Ibar. And a strike to Mike. Trout has struck out and hit into a force play. 15 home runs by Grandal this year, all hit left-handed. In fact, in looking back through the books, the last 30 home runs hit by Yasmani Grandal have all been when he bats left-handed. And he's a good right-hand batter. I mean, Grandal came in hitting over 360 right-handed, but no power. Wow, Alfredo Griffin had that hot one and tried to grab it without a glove, and that had to hurt. Grandal waiting as Alfredo picked up the ball and cleared it. That thing is hot, but an old infielder couldn't resist it, and ouch. 1-2. And Mike Trout strikes out. Nope, got a piece of it, so he's still there. Amazing thing about Trout, watching him last night. I mean, he went down to get a couple of very good pitches. He had a triple, single, and home run. 1-2. Off speed, little fly ball. Puig a little late start and makes the diving catch. To be honest, that should have been a routine fly ball, and Puig probably lost the ball in the shirt sleeve crowd. Here he comes now, but he was very late, so I have to believe he had trouble picking it up. So with his great ability, he's able to overcome a late start and make the catch. One away. So you say, oh, great catch. No, not really. So Trout 0 for 3. And here's Pujols 1 for 2. Strike. Trevor Gott, we saw him briefly last night. He was throwing in the Angel bullpen. Fastball. And at 94. Pujols has struck out 4 times, 3 last night and once today. So Kershaw has him 0-2 again. Let's see. Fastball, slow curve, slider. Pujols trying to think along with him. Fastball hit down the right field line late. So Pujols didn't get around on that. Big battle going on. A fine pitcher and a fine hitter. And the count, no balls, 2 strikes. Oh, 2. And there's the curveball hit foul. That slow curve. So he went from 94 to 73. Pujols late on the 94 and pulled too early on the 73. And the battle continues. 3-0 Dodgers, 1 out, 7th inning. Fastball lifted. A trio of Dodgers. The middleman is Kendrick calling. However, the right fielder Puig makes the play. 2 fly balls to right field. So a couple of very good hitters are late. And the batter, Eric Ibar. Kershaw, remember, has allowed only 2 hits. A leadoff single by Pujols in the 2nd and a leadoff single by Giovitella in the 4th. That's it. The Angels have not been able to get a runner to second base. Right. Oh, and 1. Fastball fouled away. So Kershaw still throws 94 on his 100th pitch. Fastball in 101 pitches against Philadelphia the 8th of July. He made 123 pitches. He went 9. That's his high pitch count. Fastball just off the plate. For the Angels, they're trying to snap a 4-game losing streak, and they've also lost 7 of the last 8. Trying to hang tough, 2 back of Houston. Slow curveball just off the plate. So he just missed. Fastball came right back, just missed again. He's now made 103 pitches. High bar hit into a force play and struck out. Looks at strike 3. 7 strikeouts for Clayton Kershaw, and he's really on a roll now since the base hit by Gio Vitella. Puig, after failing to get him jump at all, I assume he lost the ball, then comes back to recover, makes the play, and the Dodgers at the end of 6.5 lead 3-0. Three to nothing in favor of the Dodgers as we go to the bottom of the 7th inning. So Kershaw adds 7 to his 29, and suddenly Clayton has a scoreless string of 36. Remember, Zanke's streak went to 45 2/3 before that streak was snapped against the New York Mets. The Greinke, after doing a great job last night, watching Clayton do the same. Kike Hernandez takes a strike from Trevor Gott. Trevor out of Lexington, Kentucky. Off speed hit to Ibar. One away, and Clayton Kershaw coming up. Little thumbnail sketch on Trevor Gott. He's 6 feet 190. He is 23 years old. That will become the end of August. So for the moment, 22 years old, out of the University of Kentucky. And he's rushed up to the big leagues because Gott was signed by the Padres just 2 years ago. Kershaw has grounded to short and struck out 0 for 2. The Angels made a deal with the Padres. They acquired Gott and the all-star closer Houston Street from the Padres, sending Taylor Lindsey, R.J. Alvarez, Jose Rondon, Elliot Mars to the Padres. 0-2. For Gott, good running fastball. It's been clocked as high as 99. He has a slider and a changeup. Been to a lot of ball clubs in 2 years. So Kershaw fooled, but Mattingly would probably assume and want him to be sitting in the dugout for a little bit.
Shortstop, number 11, Jimmy Rollins.
Big blow in this game. Yasmani Grandal's 15 home run. Jimmy Rollins flied to right, flied to center, and fouled out. 0 for 3. Jimmy turning around now to hit left-handed. He had flied to right, center, and fouled out. Fastball for a strike, and a fastball at 97. We mentioned his fastball has been clocked at 99. Check swing, no swing. That was his slider. When the Angels come up in the 8th inning, Perez, De Jesus, and Featherston. 1 ball and 1 strike. Fastball line to center. Trout will play it on a bounce. So Rollins stings one to center, a 2-out base hit. And the batter will be Howie Kendrick. Howie Kendrick flied to right, struck out, and singled, opening up matters in the 6th inning. And then Gonzalez singled him to third. Van Slyke had the fly ball for a run. They brought in Salas for Heaney, and Grandal cleared the center field fence. Big chopper, slow. Featherston on the run makes the play, and down to second goes Rollins. So that closes it. No runs, 1 hit, and a man left. And at the end of 7, 3-0 Dodgers. Photo of the game. Tweet your photo for a chance to be shown in an upcoming broadcast. Brought to you by T-Mobile. Eighth inning, 3-0 in favor of the Dodgers. Kershaw has made 104 pitches. He's backed up by Juan Nicasio and J.P. Howell as he's ready to make pitch number 105 to the catcher, Carlos Perez. Clayton ready, and here we go. Ball one. Greinke and Kershaw. What a duo. Pitching answer to Trout and Pujols. You know, the last time two teammates made at least 4 starts with an ERA of under 1 in the same month. Besides Greinke and Kershaw, you have to go back to the year of the pitcher back in 1968. That's when the mound was much higher than it is today. I remember it was 15 inches. Now it's 10. But in 1968, the Cardinals had 2 big Redbirds who were magnificent. Little pop fly behind the plate. Grandal. 1 away. The 2 pitchers for the Cardinals back in 1968, Ray Washburn, 5 wins, no losses, and an earned run average of 0.9. And Bob Gibson, 6 wins and no losses, and an earned run average of 0.5. So DeJesus popped up, flied out, takes a strike, 0-1. Kershaw has retired 13 in a row. The last Angel hit was Gio Vitello's single back in the 4th inning, and of course they only have 2 hits anyway. Pujols a base hit in the 2nd inning. 1-1. Three runs, 6 hits for the Dodgers, no runs, 2 hits for the Angels. High fly ball down the line, a trio of Dodgers, but it's Van Slyke. Fourteenth in a row. Well, we just told you about the fact that they have dazzled. There they are. 4-0 and 3-0, but the earned run average 0.2 and 0.9. Incredible. Kershaw works. Greinke watches after working last night. Ball 1 to Featherston. Out on deck, C.J. Cron. Remember, the Angels have been talking about the fact they needed hitting. And they went out and got 3 outfielders, Murphy, DeJesus, and Victorino. The Angels had been shut out 5 times on the road, twice at home. Two and 1 to count. Taylor Featherston walked, grounded to third. Fastball, fly ball. Rollins calling. That's it. So for Clayton Kershaw, he's retired 15 in a row since Gio Vitello's single in the 4th inning. He now has 8 shutout innings. That gives him 37. And at the end, it's 7.5, 3-0 Dodgers. The #1 app for live baseball. At bats up to the moment with in-game highlights, live look-ins, replay reviews, radio broadcasts, statcasts, and a lot more. So get MLB.com at bat for your smartphone or tablet. 11 pitches in the 8th inning for Clayton Kershaw. Though he has made 115 pitches, he is still in the dugout, and he still has the arm wrapped. So that might be an indication he's going to go back out and try for a complete game. His career high in pitches, 132. That was back in 2013 against Washington. He won that game 2-0 and 8 2/3. So after 115, he's sitting on a shutout, and it looks like he's going to go out to the mound in the 9th. Meanwhile, the great Houston Street turns 32 tomorrow. 0-1 the count to Adrian Gonzalez out of Austin, Texas. Went to the University of Texas. Been relieving when Oakland's closer Octavio Dotel couldn't close. He got hurt, and the A's handed the ball to a 21-year-old out of the University of Texas. Veteran facing another veteran, Adrian Gonzalez. Ball 2. When Street was given the ball to be the closer for the A's, he had had 36 minor league appearances. And as a rookie, he went 5-1, an earned run average of 1.7, and had 23 saves. He's had as many as 35. 2-2 the count to Adrian Gonzalez. For Street, over 612 appearances for Oakland, Colorado, San Diego, and the Angels. He's had a 92% success rate since 2011. Fouled away. So that's Houston Street. Adrian Gonzalez fly to left, grounded out, single to right. And got him off speed, down and away. 1 out in the 8th inning. Interesting, Houston Street, of course, when he was with San Diego, he was going in the footsteps of another great reliever by the name of Trevor Hoffman. Houston Street working now on Van Slyke. That's ball 1. Van Slyke fly to center, single to left, and then had a long fly ball to drive in a run. You can see that Houston Street is wearing number 16. It had been worn by Hank Conger, and Conger gave it up to Houston. Why did Street want number 16? Well, that was his dad's number. And his father, James, not only an all-conference pitcher for the University of Texas, he was also more famous as a quarterback for the Texas Longhorns, who led them to a victory in the 1970 Cotton Bowl. So that number 16 means a great deal to him. Just off the plate. The fastball has a great deal of movement, slider, and a change. Meanwhile, Clayton Kershaw showing every indication he'll pitch the 9th inning. 3-0 Dodgers, bottom of the 8th. Line drive, foul. So when you look at the great relievers, Mariano Rivera, the cutter, Trevor Hoffman, the great changeup, Billy Wagner, the great fastball, and then you have Houston Street, who had his 300th save against Minnesota. So Van Slyke draws the walk, and that'll bring up Yasiel Puig.
Right fielder, number 66, Yasiel Puig.
We paid attendance today, and a whopper 52,979. That would be the 10th sellout. 52,979. Yasiel Puig, we'll see about the first pitch. There goes the runner. It's taken for a ball and a poor throw. And into second base goes Van Slyke. So Carlos Perez has a reputation of a fine throwing arm, but not that time. And Van Slyke steals second base. Puig taking that pitch, which was far off the plate. Van Slyke's second stolen base. So Scotty looking for a ride home now with one out, and Puig followed by Yasmani Grandal. Street is signed by the Angels through 2017. Ground ball deep short, gloved and thrown, and they've got Van Slyke hung up. The tag will be made by Featherston, and holding on at first, no place to go, is Puig. Though Van Slyke on a ball hit deep into the hole, so deep he thought it was going to go through.
Number 9,
Instead, he's cut down, and we have two outs. How deep? That deep on the grass, no play except to go to third. A wise play by the veteran Ibar, and Featherston will tag him out. Two out, Puig at first, and here is Grandal. Hit his 15th home run with a man aboard in the 6th inning against Salas. And ball one, straight change. Grandal lifting the weight off Kershaw's shoulders, hitting that 2-run home run. All 15 of them hit left-handed. 1-1 for the Grandal marching and charity society. It looked like a low fastball, and he hit it over the center field fence. One and ball 2-1. Houston Street's father was not only great baseball in college player and quarterback in football, he never played pro baseball. He spent a year on the rodeo circuit as a singer, opening up for his buddy Willie Nelson. 2-1. There goes Puig, and ground ball through into right field. Gio Vitella didn't move. He must have lost something, either distracted by Puig or whatever, and it's a ground ball into right field. Take a look. Watch Gio Vitella with the runner going. He's not covering, and the ball just goes the other way. So Puig steals second base. Instead, he keeps going on the base hit. So first and third, two out, and the batter is Callaspo. So Grandal, who had 3 hits last night, has a home run and a single. Callaspo, an Angel for a while, finished up last night, had an at bat and walked. Down in the Dodger bullpen, it's been Kenley Jansen and Jim Johnson. Jansen, I don't think was 100% physical last night. He was not feeling well. In fact, Kenley's not even throwing. Meanwhile, Clayton Kershaw has 8 scoreless innings, and he's going to go out there and give it a shot in the ninth. 2-0 to Castro. High pop foul. Perez looking at his third baseman Featherston, who makes the catch. So for the Dodgers, much ado about nothing, as they wind up with a walk, a stolen base, a base hit, and they lead 2. And we are heading for the ninth. 3-0 Dodgers. Dodger fans here in the stadium. Dodgers leading the Angels 3-0. Kershaw is on a roll. He's retired 15 in a row since Giovatella's single in the 4th inning, and the only other hit came to Pujols leading off in the 2nd. So both hits were by a leadoff man. And now let's see. C.J. Cron has been announced as a pinch hitter, but let's see. Kershaw made the walk, but that was a setup, and he will lead after 8. C.J. Cron will be facing Kenley Jansen, who will be coming out of the pen. And for Clayton, a standing ovation going out to the mound, and the same thing coming back. So he went 8 innings. He now has a He now has 45 other starts in which he did now allow a run. So that means he's had 56 starts where he did not allow a run, going 8 innings, retiring 15 in a row, and giving the ball to Kenley Jansen. C.J. Cron had been announced as a hitter. That was the ploy. And David Murphy, the batter. Murphy played left field last night, went 0 for 3 with a walk. So the old trick, nobody's really fooled by it. You send your pitcher out to the mound, the opposing manager makes a move, and then you change pitcher. Of course, you could make that rule a lot tougher. You could say, no deception allowed. If you go to the mound, you must face one hitter. But they let him get away with it. So here's Murphy. They burned up Cron. Murphy is from Houston, Texas, and promptly gets a base hit into right center. Going over to get the ball is Hernandez. Has a little trouble, but down by 3. Murphy's going to be very cautious, and he holds on with a single. So Kenley Jansen, who did not look particularly sharp last night, made 26 pitches, gives up a base hit to Murphy. Cole Calhoun will now come up and bat for Victor Runa. Now, Calhoun last night had 3 hits, was 3 for 4. Each time he'd get aboard, Mike Trout would follow. This time, Gio Votella is hitting second. And here's Calhoun as the pinch hitter. Batting for Victorino. And ball 1. Just watching a close-up last night of Kenley Jansen. He just didn't look healthy or strong. He still gutted his way through 26 pitches. He did give up the home run to Trout, and he also hit Ivo. 1 ball and 1 strike to count. Cole Calhoun. Calhoun out of Buckeye, Arizona. He went to Arizona State. He has plenty of power. He had 17 home runs last year. He has 13 right now. And promptly whacks 1 foul. 1-2 the count to Cole. He's 5'9", a good 200-pounder. Calhoun hitting .276. Down in the pen, Jim Johnson just in case. It's 3-0 Dodgers, 9th inning, but nobody out. And the Angels getting very close to Trout and Pujols. And certainly no game is over if they have a shot. 1-2. 2-2. So Kenley Jansen last night 26 pitches. Wednesday night he made 18. Two balls, 2 strikes. 3-0 Dodgers, 9th inning. Check swing. They look. No swing. So 3-2 the count. There's the check. Just did keep the bat back. Calhoun made his debut for the Angels in 2012. In his second at bat, he picked up his first big league hit. It was a double. Naturally, the Angels gave him a bad time about it. 3-2. And ball 4. The trouble in River City. A somewhat shaky Jansen last night, and has nothing to disprove that thought again today. So the pinch hitters, Murphy singles, Calhoun walks, and now Gio Votella with Trout and Pujols. And the Dodgers on the phone. So Jansen having trouble with 2 pinch hitters. Gio Votella is 1 for 3. One of the 3 precious hits the Angels have. And a strike. One of the problems that Jansen had, and it's the unseen enemy for the pitcher. He just had one swing and miss. There were 11 pitches fouled off. That's how he wound up making 26 pitches. 0-1. And the strike. 0-2. We mentioned about Gio Votella last night. Interesting to note, with the bases loaded, would you believe he is 7 for 9? Gio hitting .265, 2 on. Murphy and Calhoun, nobody out. Ground ball slowly and foul ball. Foul ball, they'll have to try it again. Take another look. On the chalk and then foul. Otherwise, that's a shot at a double play for sure. By the way, not only is Gio Votella 7 for 9 with the bases loaded, would you believe that in close and late situations, I mean when all the pressure's on, he's hitting .431. Well, he's something. Johnny Gio Votella. Fouled off. Down in the Angel bullpen, Joe Smith warming up. We always get the feeling it's a pitcher warming up under an assumed name, but it's Joe Smith. Murphy at second, Calhoun at first. Tying run at the plate. Nice gesture by Mike Trout. 0-2 the count to Gio. Foul back. Gio Votella has had very close to 400 plate appearances, and he has struck out 47 times. So he is so important. Up there with nobody out, down 3-0, and Trout and Pujols ready to follow him. 0-2. And down he goes. Breaking ball in the dirt. So the rare time Gio Votella goes down, and now ball game's on the line. There's the breaking ball. So here we go. This is why you come to see the games. It's a perfect setting, isn't it? The Dodgers have stopped the Angels with great pitching, and now two great hitters back to back, and with one representing the tying run and the other, Pujols, a go-ahead run. So Jansen really has himself a tough situation. Trout, by the way, 0 for 3. And ball 1. So after 115 pitches, Clayton Kershaw sitting in the dugout, sweating it out, and he's not on the mound. Zach Greinke sitting alongside of him. 1-0 the count to Mike Trout. 32 home runs, 67 runs batted in. 1-1. What a combination. Trout, 32 home runs, 67 runs batted in. Pujols, 30 home runs, 64 runs batted in. So you're looking at 62 home runs and 131 RBIs with just these two. Sliced foul, 1-2. Trout pays somewhat of a price. He has struck out 96 times. Today he struck out once to give him 97. Pujols, however, is not a strikeout hitter at all. He's only struck out 48 times, including once today. 2-2 the count. So this big crowd of 52,979 seeing exactly what they came to see. Tough ball game, and the Dodgers being challenged by two of the top hitters in baseball, Mike Trout and Albert Pujols. 2-2. Foul back. I know what you're thinking about naturally in this kind of a situation. So we can tell you right now, Kenley Jansen has allowed 2 home runs. One of them last night to Mike Trout. So Mike Trout strikes out a second time. Kenley Jansen with that high, hard one. And the batter is Albert Pujols. Kershaw so near and yet so far from his 9th win. Pujols single to center, struck out, fly to right, all 3 at bats against Caden. Pujols, the tying run at the plate. 0-1. Albert 30 home runs, 64 runs batted in. Two pinch hitters coming off the bench. Murphy singled, Calhoun walked. They're out there, but Gio Vitella and Trout have struck out. And a fly ball. Here comes Van Slyke. He'll only play it on a hop. 1 run scores. Runner stops at third, and it's 3-1. So Pujols, fly ball single to left field. He goes 2 for 4, picks up the run. Daniel Murphy carries it over. Calhoun goes to third. And this game is far from over as Eric Ibar checks in. Take another look. Van Slyke just too far and deep to make that play. And now timeout. Rick Honeycutt going out to talk to Jansen. So the game going right down to the wire. Angels have the tying runs aboard. Ibar 0 for 3, trying to move Pujols from first to get the game even. Angels, as we had mentioned earlier, had been shut out 7 times this year, twice at home, 5 times on the road. Their staff has turned in 9 shutouts. So first and third, 2 out, 9th inning. Angels trying to get off the floor, trying to snap a 4-game losing streak, and the fact they've also lost 7 out of 8. So here's Ibar against Kershaw, hit into a force play and struck out twice. 2 for 3 in the past against Kenley Jansen. Calhoun down the line from third. Pujols tying run at first, and the first pitch popped up into shallow center. It is Kendrick calling, waiting, and the former Angel plunges the dagger in. Clayton Kershaw gets the win. Jansen gets the save. The Dodgers now have beaten the Angels 2 straight, and for the Angels, they've lost 5 in a row and 8 of the last 9. Tough ball game. Certainly the player of the game would have to be Clayton.